we go. Hello, people of crypto. How are we doing out there? You got Doc Severson here coming to you straight from Westerville, Ohio, and you have... Is your mic on?
I always mute it during the intro just to make sure I'm not like
clicking
around and doing stuff. Sorry about that, guys. Hey, it's Matt from LA.
Matt from LA. How are you guys doing out there? Good to see you folks. All right. Yeah. We were going to do, Mav was going to pantomime today's session, but we've decided to ditch that. Instead, we're going to give you guys a little update on what's going on and what we see going on, and we will take your questions. We're going to keep this one short. I swear to God, we're going to keep this one to 30 minutes so you guys can get on with your lives. So we just want to have a little update with you guys, tell you what we're doing, what we see the market doing, and what we see the industry going. What you got, Mav? Kick us off.
Well, first off, let's. I like to do these weekly questions for people. So this week's question is type in chat where you guys what like artist or song has like really been like fire for you guys lately. I'm all about music. I love talking about it and listening and just exploring it. Make sure if you're going to link something, do YouTube, because otherwise it'll probably block it. But yeah, let's get a little bit of that going. And of course, where are you guys coming in from, and like how's the weather? I guess. Yeah, I know.
No, we're going to skip the weather today. No weather.
All right.
No weather coming.
No weather. But yeah, let's see what we got. Ooh, yeah, some good stuff. Yeah, like the market is clearly moving in somewhat of a tempestuous movement right now, or direction, I guess. And I think people are kind of asking what's coming next. What are we doing? Where are we going? And what's going to be driving the market ultimately? So yeah, I think we're just kind of in a holding pattern right now in terms of the news. So yeah, I don't know. Tycho, nice. Yeah, that's good.
Is there a group called Canada? Yeah, I think, most people are used to us asking where they're coming in from. So today what Mav is looking for is like, what music drives you today. So, yeah. Oh, Rick Astley. Oh, excellent. There we go.
Oh, man.
Hello from Sweden. Now, if I were to say Ian Dury and the Blockheads, I wonder if anybody would ever recognize something like that. Ian Dury, bless his soul, has passed away, but one of my earlier influences of music.
We're going to talk crypto.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's
get it warmed up, guys. Come on. Like we don't want to just make this all about business. We want to, business in the front, party in the back. I don't know.
All right. So while you're struggling and flailing away there, I'm going to I'll shrink you. I'll send you off to the corner here, and I'll do a little Bitcoin analysis. So I put a video out today about the trap trade setup, trap trade. And what I want to talk to you about, y'all, is this is what we typically see when we see something like this. Is when I see this, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at this kind of price box here that's set up. And by the point that you get to down here, everybody is looking for this to just keep going lower, right? Everybody's looking for this just to continue down and, let's go down to 5,000 or something like that. And this is, it may be this time, it may be the next time, I don't know which, but I start to look for what's called a trap setup where all of a sudden it does a hard shift around and it traps up to the other way. So you can kind of see a miniature version of this down here. So everybody, when it was down here, everybody was just assuming, oh, this thing is going all the way back down to 5,600. And all of a sudden it just put on a boogie move to the upside. That's a technical term. So I'm looking for the same thing. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Nobody can know if this is going to happen or not. So don't let anybody lead you astray. All I want to do with today's video is to kind of show you what are the elements of something like that. What causes that? And I want, through these videos and for those of you that also join our Omnia service, the one thing that we are always trying to get you to understand is why price moves in the first place. Why it moves in the first place. It doesn't move because of, oh, well, all of a sudden demand exceeds supply. No, it's not quite something out of a textbook. It's more the fact that down here, the reason why this made this move was somebody's getting spanked. Somebody's getting hurt. And that's why price moves, especially when it moves like this. We had pretty heavy short interest down here because all the bears were just jumping on board this and thinking that they were going to ride this down all the way. And that was not quite the case. So it took a while before all the bearish interest was eradicated or at least decreased. And then what happens is the bulls grab the baton and run with it and say, oh, let's run this market higher. This becomes a runaway market where people are chasing it. So this is how moves like this get started. So while everybody else is looking to the downside, I'm actually looking to the upside. I'm looking for the potential. If it's able to maybe start trading over 10,000 again, that might be a clue. And the way I would determine that, let's erase this pen, is maybe you're going to see reversal down here like in the 1 hour chart. That might start things. So if we set up this trend line, remember rule number 3 of price action is that descending patterns break to the upside. So if I get a nice little move on the 1 hour chart, then may actually propagate up to something like the 5 hour chart. And we'll start to see it then on the 5 hour chart as a higher low down here, and we'll start the reversal that way. Remember, this is like a big chess game. What you're trying to do is trying to play 1 or 2 moves ahead of your opponent. That's about all you can do with the market, right? You're not predicting the future. You're just saying, hey, if this trend line breaks, then this is what I will do. So anyway, not much else going on with the rest of the coins today, even though something like Litecoin is showing a little bit of a move, but it too, as well as Ethereum, is showing the potential for a trap setup here. So again, don't know if it's going to happen, but something just to keep your eyes on there. Okay?
Very nice. Yeah, I'm seeing that from the fundamental side as well. It's, guys, I think we're still kind of in shock over that week we had a little bit ago with, Trump talking about Bitcoin, Jerome Powell talking about Bitcoin, Steven Mnuchin talking about Bitcoin, Facebook being all over the news in terms of their cryptocurrency. I think we're still getting over that. And this week has been somewhat boring of late, just because that was such a substantial week, back to back of just like really impactful stuff that's we're going to have to digest for months, if not years. But at the same time, there's been a lot of institutional movement this week. We saw Bakkt and TD Ameritrade and Fidelity are starting to get warmed up for their offerings, and we're seeing more and more moves towards sort of the direction that we feel the overall space is going. Certainly, we've been moving away from the ICO and even the IEO market. Only about 30 million or so has been raised using both of those fundraising vehicles this month. So, I think at this point, the overall market's looking for something new. We're looking for new blood. We're looking for a new direction. I've talked a little bit about STOs as being a potential alternative, but that still needs time for maturity. So, we are sort of in a holding pattern in terms of, what comes next? Where are we going? And at the same time, the stock market is just crushing it right now, and like it's hard for people to get excited about this space or potential upside when equities are doing what they're doing.
What is there any update on Backed?
Well, I keep seeing the headline that Bakkt is launching, it's coming online. It's sort of true. They're doing testing, they're doing user testing. So I think that's a little bit of a clickbait title in some ways. I do think that they're just trying to play the market right now and trying to anticipate where things are going. But I think they still have very much the intention to launch into a strong market. They sort of held off back in February, if you remember. Yeah, they gave the reason of the U.S. government shut down. We don't want to launch right now. But I think what they're really trying to do is galvanize support, because when we saw like the CME futures launch, CBOE futures launch for Bitcoin, that did not very well. They sort of petered out. There wasn't much liquidity on it. There wasn't much interest. It's very impactful. It's very important for Bitcoin as an asset, for legitimacy. But at the same time, if it's not being utilized, if it's not being seen as a real market, they need to justify the amount of capital investor, and just that the market's there basically. So yeah, we're unfortunately sort of in this holding pattern, this building pattern, but I don't believe that we're about to just retrace back into like a super bear market and go back to this just oppressive just miasma of defeatism and sort of, what was it, lugubrious. That was the word I was trying to use today.
Oh, I love those 50-cent words. You're being obstreperous now.
Yeah. But I think that's where we are right now. We have moved past 2017 in a lot of ways, and I think we should be proud of that. I attended a hackathon this past weekend just to see what people are building with layer 2 solutions and Ethereum. And it was really cool. It was really cool to see what people are working on, how excited they are. And I think the future of this space is very bright, especially when you consider all the other emerging technology fields going on right now, AI, automation, using blockchain kind of as a confluence of a lot of those technologies together. I think that's our killer app. I think that's what we've been looking for is, in terms of user adoption, I don't anticipate, at least initially, that we're going to see just everybody using Bitcoin wallets and things like that. But what I do intend, or foresee, I hope, is that we'll start to see adoption in sort of the back end, slowly, but with intention, especially in confluence with a lot of these other emerging technologies. So, guys, I think what I'm trying to tell you is the future is bright, and don't be dismissive of that. I think technology, what's about to happen, the level of technology that's coming to us right now is going to be so different than anything we've ever seen before, because there's just a lot of really cool things being worked on right now. So I don't know, I don't want to get too crystal ball-ish, but I think we're in a good place still. I don't want to just sell that as sort of like a hopium, but like I think it's the space is definitely mature, and that's been awesome to see. I think we're in a good spot with that.
Okay, a couple of questions that came in here while you were gesturing.
Yeah, Italian hands.
Yeah, Italian hands. Yeah, I just got my Ancestry.com report back. What a big surprise. So ARK, this is a weekly chart of ARK. This is telling you everything that the market thinks about it, past, present, and future. A lot of people think that price charts don't reflect the future because, hey, that's just today. No, actually, everything is baked into there that is known. Everything that's possibly known about any asset is already priced into the chart right now. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't move in the future, but right now, I'm not a big fan of just buying the dip on something with a weekly downtrend. I prefer to see something trading to the upside first before, what I always say is you're never going to get a medal for buying the bottom tick of a market. Right. So what I'm always looking for to do is if it starts to do something like this, then typically the distance between the very bottom tick and where this thing actually starts to make higher highs on the weekly chart ain't that much, really. You're not really giving up that much of an edge. And besides, if you're trying to pick the bottom, you pick the bottom here and here and here, and you might say, well, I'm averaging down. But there is, and I don't want to get personal here and I don't want to offend anybody, but there is a well-known saying in trading, which is that losers average down. So if you started averaging down here, you're still averaging down, you're still underwater. I don't care what you're doing. So maybe someday, big question mark, is ARK ever going to restore from there? I don't know. So take the pressure off yourself, guys. Don't try to predict the future on a coin. Wait until something starts to actually trend to the upside before you invest in it. And it just takes the pressure off, right? There is this sort of notion that's out there, which is fed through TV commercials and all the public media, that you've got to find a needle in a haystack, right? You've got to get that thing at the very bottom using information and systems that nobody else has. But trust me, it's not done that way. Just make it easy on yourself. Trade things that go to the upside. Now, there was another question here. Yeah, it's funny, Ricky. I was actually in the business of the internet before it was called the internet. Let's see. Crypto Darthmark. What are the closest levels of BTC we can expect if the trap triggers to the upside? And what are the levels we can expect if this goes down? Well, all right. So let's take a look at this. And quite often, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people look for projections, and there's an awful lot of clickbait that's out there from people saying Bitcoin 100,000 by the end of the year. You know, people want to click on that stuff. And unfortunately, in this business, that catches clicks and that catches headlines, but it's just complete bullshit, guys. Quite honestly, it's just bullshit. Okay. So what you can look at here is if you look at a weekly chart of BTC, and this is Coinbase, they're all pretty close. What you can see here is what I look for is a volume profile if I'm going to look for support or resistance on that. And I will look for pivots, pivot points or things like this. Like this is one of the reasons why I got an entry at 9,100 the other day, because that's a pivot point. That's a pivot point. Here's a pivot point here if it were to come down to it, right? So
hey, Doc, make the chart bigger.
Make the chart bigger. All right. I got to shrink you then. I got to shrink you, dude. All right. You're getting... Nobody puts Mav in the corner, right? I didn't watch that movie either. All right, so here's the point, is that when you have something like this, former resistance becomes new support. That is a swing test, right? So watch for swing tests. So right now, 9,000 is a good level of support. Below that, what I'm going to look for is about 8,000, which is a volume profile, high volume node. And then below that, it's 6,500, right? Which is what everybody thought was going to be resistance on the way up and just got blown through. So those are the levels that I'm looking for. I would expect that once we get up to, and this is where I'm going to bring in these guys here, which is the RSI Laguerre with the chop index. This is something that we talk about all the time in our Omnia room and on the newsletters. I use this tool all the time to determine. It's almost like a fuel gauge. So this is what we're looking for. Right now, the weekly chart is still in energy deficit. It could stand for another couple of weeks of chopping around and driving you guys nuts. And I hate to say it that way, but you've got to frustrate the majority of traders out there into getting them to throw in the towel and just saying, I can't trade this market anymore. I quit. I quit looking for that swing to the upside. And when the last guy quits looking for the swing to the upside because it's chopping around like this, boom, that's when we get the swings, when nobody expects it. I've just seen it 100 times before. It's like when everybody quits looking for the swing because they're tired of getting chopped to death, that's when it shows up. So those are my levels to the downside. Now to the upside, if we do get this thing charged up again, you can see the level that just this level of energy gave us. It gave us a long way. That was almost 10,000 points worth. Can we do it again? Can we get another swing to go from 9,000 up to 20,000? We could. And certainly people would take profits as we got up to 20,000. But what are we doing then? Then we're creating an ungodly sized cup with handle pattern. So more than likely what's going to happen is we would have some kind of reaction, some kind of consolidation, fear coming back into the market. Here's the handle, consolidate, and then boom. The upside target for a cup with handle is basically the distance between the neckline down to about, so that's roughly 16,000 points. So that points at about a target of about 36,000. So sorry to go into the chart pattern bullshit with you guys, but that's, if you look for any kind of projections, there you go. But in the meantime, there's awful lots of trading to be done. So
It looks like a Loch Ness monster almost.
yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, you're back.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys should also check out Masari just put out a research report about how there's been just a flood of capital to basically from the small caps into the large caps, especially Bitcoin. I mean, obviously from BTC dominance, but even just from the top 10, that is the way the market's moving. And like Doc was just saying, don't fight the trends. Play with the market. It's okay to be contrarian sometimes, but on a long-term time frame, especially when we're talking about altcoins that haven't moved in 2 years, I think that's a smart move.
Hey, little shout out to Mo and Ellie on I-77 South. Just saying hello out there. Staying in touch. We are not only a global brand, but we're also a mobile brand. How to do a measured move is great stuff. Yeah, it's the just chart patterns. I mean, like if you want to see an awesome description of a cup with handle pattern. Sorry guys, I'm going to do this one more time and then we'll go over to your questions and close out today's session. All right, so you guys want to see cup with handle? I will show you cup with handle. Let's go to Microsoft and hopefully I got to avoid putting numbers in here. But if we go out to like a monthly chart of Microsoft, oh my, look at this thing. I mean, it's just like, and you guys can barely see this, but there you go. I mean, this is cup with handle, like a year's worth of this, that the neckline was at 60. And so this thing is 40 deep. And so the target for this thing was about 100. And guess what? It just kept on going. So this is where you're going to see cup with handle. One thing I have not seen work in a long time is a head and shoulders pattern. What I do see work is an inverted head and shoulders pattern. Boom. So make sure that you watch for both sides of head and shoulders patterns. I have not seen normal head and shoulders patterns work in some time. All right. So there you go. We're back to you.
Oh man, chat's just eviscerating me today. It's great. I love it. Yeah, no, I think where we're at right now, there's been a couple questions about just overall BTC price predictions and sort of this I don't know, malaise of what's it going to do by the end of the year? Are we going to 50K or are we going to 3K? Guys, honestly, price predictions like that, especially that are so arbitrary, it's like astrology. It's meant to make you feel good or sort of attached to it in some I don't know, sentimental way. Like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if BTC went to 50K? Wouldn't it be nice if today you're like everyone you meet is nice to you or something like that? But it's really just feel good BS that like has no basis in reality. What is in reality is we know that the Bitcoin halving event is less than a year away. We're going to go from 3.8% inflation down to 1.8%, less than all major currencies of the world. And I think what the global markets right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear in some ways. And Bitcoin and the entire crypto asset space kind of play to that fear as sort of the antithesis of what they represent. And yeah, guys, I'm gonna keep using my hands. I don't care. You know,
Hey,
like
some of you guys, you keep it clean in the room, all right? Keep those dirty thoughts out of the room. Otherwise, we're gonna take your desk and put it out in the hallway. All right.
so. Yeah, guys, I think we're in a good spot. Like what I was saying earlier, the space has matured. BTC is over the past week has basically proven that I don't want to use the phrase too big to fail, but it's been legitimized. It is,
Legitimatized. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's it. And I just I can't get away from this notion that where we're moving right now is part of a larger technological move, or renaissance, if you will. So yeah, I'm still very excited about this space. I still love being a part of it. I think we're doing some really cool stuff here, and you know, as always, I love making videos for guys talking about some really cool stuff.
Okay, we're gonna just do a couple more things here. Get your questions in because we're gonna boogie here in a minute. That's an old way of saying we're going to leave. Let's see. What should we do? Link. Let's do link BTC. Let's do link BTC. Hold on a second, and I will bring the chart over. Let me do screenus interruptus here. There we go. Okay, so here is link BTC. And it's actually a coin that, even though Bitcoin's been very strong, it's still found a way to be even stronger than Bitcoin through this. Now, if I go to link USD, this is a truer representation of the strength of Chainlink, although it doesn't look all that great right now, just on a daily chart. So this is just Coinbase, and Coinbase doesn't have that much history of it. So we'll stay with link BTC and make sure that I don't enter any numbers here. Otherwise, we're going to lose the video feed. So it looks okay. I mean, descending patterns will break to the upside. This thing should break to the upside. And this could also give a trap. This could be a higher low trap setting off of here. Watch for the volume. The volume will always tell you if it's a real move or not. So if it breaks out and there's wimpy volume, then I wouldn't believe it. I would not believe it. It's probably going to be just another lower high. Okay, anything else out there?
I'm seeing a little bit of a notion towards, like talk about Litecoin, or, obviously we're just waiting for the altcoin pump right now. And man, I just think that's such a flawed line of logic in so many ways, because guys, show me where the DApp usage is, where the user adoption is. It's still hard as all hell to try to use dApps, unfortunately. And just we can't have an industry where, I mean, when you sign up for Coinbase or a lot of these things, the second step you see is like, oh, copy this little key here, the seed phrase, or else you will lose everything. Like, there's inherent fear built in right from the onboarding process. I think where we're at right now is it's more important to be looking for things like tokenization of assets. And I just don't see the sort of need for redundancy, or show me the disruption potential that Litecoin has, for example. What does it do that Bitcoin or anything does without a layer 2 solution on top of it? I know I'm going to get some flack for that, but like, honestly, like I don't ascribe to this sort of tribalism notion where we just sit in our little camps and say like, oh yeah, EOS is the best, and how dare you suggest otherwise, because that is just so like, it doesn't help anyone. So that I'm just frustrated of seeing that, and I think it's sort of self-defeating in a lot of ways. So I'm not trying to bring down the whole industry. I think what we're building right now is awesome, but just in the same way that we've moved beyond the ICO market, we also have to recognize what is and is not working in terms of blockchain technology, in terms of user adoption potential, and things like that. Guys, people don't care about the technology. They care about what it does for them. They care about the control it gives them over their lives. And if you're asking them to have to go through a lot of, like all these different steps that they're not like comfortable with or used to, it's just not going to fly. And I hope that that's very clear. Like, we definitely are the early adopters, and that is so cool in terms of being able to see the future being built and having that early investing potential. But at the same time, you have to be pragmatic. You have to be realistic about these things, because what I've seen so often over the last 2 years is people dismissing that and saying, no, this is going to the moon. This tiny little moonshot coin is going to change everything. It's going to be the next Amazon, and that is such a lie. And I want to make sure I wake people up to that. So that's my piece. My hands are now tied.
All right, let's take two more questions. I'll take one, and then if you guys want to tee up Mav for the next one. So the question here is from Cornholio. It's funny, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to tell a story about your childhood. All right. But yeah, let's just say that the babysitters corrupted you a long time ago.
Okay.
So what is the probability we're still in a bear market and this bull is just an upside correction? Okay, so somebody, Cornholio, you have been confirmation biased by somebody else out there that claims that we're still in a bear market, right? So what you have to do is develop a set of skills that allows you to look at a chart and come to your own conclusion, because otherwise I could say something different and you get a different answer from somebody else, and then you don't know. And then you're torn, and then meanwhile, maybe the thing runs away without you, right? So you've got to come up with a way to determine that yourself. Now, moi, I will look at a weekly chart. If a weekly chart is in an uptrend, then to me, that bear's over. Especially since we broke above 6,500, that bear is over. I don't care if it even comes down to 6,500 and test that. This will put in another higher weekly low, and we are already how many months into this thing now? To me, the bear is done. It's dead. It's toast. However, if you look at altcoins, they're still clearly in a bear market. So it depends on how you define what consists that bear market. As far as Ethereum, Litecoin, Binance Coin, Bitcoin, some of the top 5, we are definitely out of the bear market. When you talk about the rest of these, when you talk about Garlic Coin, when you talk about some of the other coins that have been brought up here today, when you talk about Tron, the bear market exists because right now Bitcoin, unless you can trade those versus the USD, and unless they're holding par value versus the USD or some other fiat currency, right now, if you're trading them versus BTC, you are going to get crushed because BTC is in your denominator on the currency pair, and it ain't going to happen for you.
So the response to my question earlier about, show me what Litecoin does or whatever, not to keep harping on this point, but it's faster and cheaper. Okay, cool. But so is Visa and Swift and everything else. So again, I want to see a real sustainable alternative option. Someone else was bringing up points about interoperability being a key piece of where the space is going, and I absolutely agree. I was just digging into the project Metronome, which is sort of doing stuff like that, and that's cool to me. I think that's a key feature of where we go from here. Working with existing technologies, existing assets, while building towards a interoperable future that integrates a lot of other emerging technologies, while also being able to be blockchain agnostic.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We're going to call this one a wrap on today's session. So thanks for joining us. And for those of you that are Omnia members, we'll see you in the room today and later on. Take care, guys.
See you guys. Thanks for hanging out.